We're live streaming for what that's worth today. Tonight. I mean, oh my head.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you went to the doctor, and what's okay? Yes. What's the short story there?
yes, we'll catch everybody up in a moment.
Yep.
And okay.
Are you able to hear me? So.
Yes, thank God. Oh, what? Oh my God! How did we reach you in hell?
Yeah, I was about to say I can't stay very long. I just want to check in, make sure everything's not melting down.
Oh Jesus!
I gotta go back to this hellscape.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Well, at least it's not melting down just yet. Well, it's in a sense it is. Pete's gone.
I can only do so much.
Pete's not here at the moment that I know of. Pete, you there? You responsive? Holy shit!
Wait, he's never been late before.
Yeah. Well, once in a while. It's maybe that's their new mode of attack. Is through him or something. Take him out. Yeah, T-Take Barry. Love you dearly, brother. Thank you. He says we're loud and clear. Yeah, I'm telling everybody I'm just going to be here as long as Pete's here. Maybe that's why they took him out to knock off the show.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Did you say that out loud? Or
I said it out loud only tonight, so they didn't know that plan cognizantly until I came on. Amy showed up. Love you, Amy.
Oddly.
Yes, that is odd.
Oddly enough.
Yes. So is it a chicken wire fence or like a real gate? Wait, the one you crashed through.
No. It's the tiniest little rope with a cone in front of it. So we can keep running it over.
Oh shit. Oh my God. That's what that is.
What happened today? Did you have surgery today?
I might as well have. In a sense, it was. It's the surgery itself is what they call quote unquote procedural, and but today is where I really found out the gravity of it, or just how serious they were about it. I have both stitches and staples inside my nose, so that that I only found out today, but it explains quite a bit. And yes, we scheduled reconstructive surgery, meaning plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, to undo what's been done. But that's 3 months before we get into that. Shout out to Sheila Gavin. Love you, Sheila Gavin. Beyond expression, in case I don't express that. Jesus fucking Christ. These are the ghosts over at Brendan Zoget land, right?
Yeah, that's a door that's older than all of us combined.
Oh my God! They used to pay for effects like that on radio back in the days when they used.
It can be a good sample, yeah, for real.
Yeah. Anyhow, Eric Cradle hugs. T-Take Berry hugs. Love you, brother. Yeah, there we are. Here we are. The Inner Sanctum. That's the old radio station horror stories. They used to have sounds like this. Oh my God! So I just want people to know I am dead meat in the water. I am dead meat in the water. We did clearing.
Are they going to take the staples out?
No, these are new technology staples, unlike the ones in my lungs. These are new technology.
They're dissolving.
They're dissolving. They're dissolving staples, yes. And I got to see them. They shoved the camera up my nose and made me look. So I've got stitches that will be removed if they do not dissolve. And the staples, they theoretically will dissolve better than the stitches. Peter Moon has joined us. We hope you're well. Are you safe?
I was just finishing up brushing my teeth, actually.
Okay. Yes. And is that a statement of some kind of devastating ennui with the with the program?
Okay, I gotta go. I hope you guys have a good night.
Yes. Well, we love you dearly. Stay safe and be well. And have you? Yeah. And you've had your communications with Aristides about the computer, correct?
No, but we will.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Blessings. Bye.
Blessing.
Well,
Okay.
Get in touch, Brendan.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And take care of yourself. Oh my God. So Peter, what it's basically we're here for you tonight. We're here as long as you can stand to be here. And the moment you check out, I check out. It was post-surgery procedures were done today. In a sense, it was worse than surgery because there was no anesthetic. There was anesthetic in a very regional or local sense, but nothing in a systemic sense. So it's not even pain. It's simply that I need sleep. The structure of my schedule was such that I did not get proper sleep before or after I almost slept through the alarm to wake me up for the show. So that's the situation. Is that physiologically, I don't know if you caught it, but I have both stitches and staples inside of my nose, and so they cleared out a lot of congested matter, just blood and pus, that is natural for the body's reaction to this kind of assault. And the body's trying to reject these items, of course, and with my nanoplasma, everything is far more aggressive, which explains my inability to breathe. But my nose is deformed to the point where reconstructive surgery will very likely be scheduled. We're going to, of course, follow up for the next 3 months. I'll be seeing her again this month. I mean, literally within days. I'll be seeing her in by the middle of September, more like September 18th. So my next appointment is September 18th with her, and then I will see her again 3 months after that at the very latest, and then we're going to have reconstructive surgery in about half a year, 6 months. And so that's the situation as it is. Through a nightmare of expediencies, I got her photographs and video. She actually reviewed my channel. So that was shocking that she came away from that unscarred. And so she knows how I used to look and how I look now. The difference is enough for her to know the difference as a medical doctor. So yes, we're working with that. Now, all of this was compounded where I just take it as a message from the gods. Whatever I've written, probably Peter and I will put it aside, and maybe I can always publish it separately. The narrative.
Well, I've got a great idea to share about this.
Okay.
When you get a chance, but carry on with your.
Yeah, the only reason is that I want people to know that I had a burst of a need to just cathart a lot of this magical toxicity. I'll probably continue doing that among other things along the line with doing other works, for a little while until it totally is bleached from my mind or wrung out of my mind like a towel. But a lot of these traumas that I've been suffering lately have encouraged that, for some reason triggered it, the need to do that. Such being said, everything technically has died. The assaults have been relentless. One of them was, of course, just the surgery itself. It's not even, I don't know how to express it. Some elements of just staying home, trying to aggressively sleep helped immensely. But every time I got up, I would get on the computer and work. And I guess because I was on the computer at home so much more than I normally would be, at some point an accident happened. So liquid was spilled on my keyboard, and that completely destroyed it. That's the most blatant thing to happen, but the computer itself is quite obviously dying. But the most immediate primary emergency code black item I need is the keyboard, and that's about $40, probably between $40 and half $100. But I need a Logitech keyboard that has a touchpad integrated into it. That's the only one I can use. This I'm using a backup keyboard that has a mouse, and it's just untenable. It's the mouse is an anachronism made for older people from the first part of the computer revolution. The only reason they still produce them is for the comfort of these people who find it a comfort item. Other than that, I do want people to know the most important immediate thing is the keyboard, or I can't do anything effectively with a touchpad. It has to be a touchpad integrated into the keyboard, or it's not going to work. And those are about $40 to $50. I need one of those sent to me like same day mail. Consider that a same day mail item, or with barely any exaggeration, or next day mail. Then other than that, we're going to work on the computer secondarily, because the computer has this old piece of shit I've got is got a actual hard drive. They should not have even been selling those at the time I bought it 3 years ago. And this hard drive is just dying. It is literally, we can see it dying. By the way, I would not be on tonight, except that with every one of these technical emergencies, Brendan Zogit was there, and he helped me overcome the technical emergency at the time. We had technical emergencies not just with the computer and its obvious senescence, meaning its hard drive is dying. It has only so much RAM, so little, and that I mean so little RAM. There's no ability for it to do anything. It must have been sold as a joke. It's as I said, Brendan Zogi could not believe, looking into the inside diagnostics of the computer, just how bad it is. I bought it 3 years ago, and it's just a piece of shit. So, and every computer I've ever had has been that. I've never had, I had one excellent cutting edge computer, but of course I gave it to my 3D graphics modeler and made a friend for life. but aside from that, that was where Lori and Ann Fenton spent all my money to get that, because that was like a fetish for her. She would do that for people, is spend all their money on a brand new cutting edge computer just to spend all their money, because that was her great thrill in life. But it was something I could never use, because that was just like buying a Ferrari for somebody who just needs a car to get to work. So at any rate, aside from that, the internet, several things happened with the internet that don't make any sense. So when I was trying to work last night, or it feels like last night, but I don't know. It just went, like I said, it went 2 days without sleep at this point. So then I'll go back to sleep as soon as the show is over. But something happened with the internet where it was just not processing. The internet was not interfacing. It was not interfacing with anything. And it had nothing to do with the computer. It had nothing to do with that. And that happened more than once. One was Google was not accepting ad blockers. So Brendan had to dislodge all the ad blockers, of which there were like half a dozen. And only then could we interact with the Google Studio. So we couldn't produce it tonight at all if it weren't for that. And then the internet itself just stopped interfacing, period, and just said, I have too much data, and it was overloaded. The internet, mind you. This is like from Firefox. Firefox said I had too much data to work with, and it was overloading. So we were trying to switch to Google Chrome for a while, then we tried some other tricks, just unplugging from the internet completely, unplugging the computer as well, and that seemed to work, both simultaneously. So, but all of this went on over the last few days. It's all that's been going on. It's just this crap. And so, but the only answer we have now is Brendan found a refurbished type of computer that should only cost about $300, and we're going to fundraise for that. So all that aside, and that can wait. The computer's dying, but it's not dying that fast. That can wait. The first thing is the keyboard. Other than that, the thing I'll do is turn it over to Peter now. And I want everyone to know the update is that my healing has been remarkable. The doctor was very shocked to learn how bad the surgery went. In terms of the cartilage she took out at a certain choke point high up in the nose, where the deviated septum was fixed. The deviated septum was going in towards the left of my nostril, but the blocked sinus was on the right, so they went in through the left nostril to fix the deviated septum, and the left nostrils where all the damages, and I can't breathe out of the left nostril effectively now. Didn't breathe out of it throughout the weekend. And now they went in to try and clear up that to a degree, but I still have the staples and the stitches in there. It will be exceedingly uncomfortable until they're removed or disintegrated or whatever. And then we're going to do another cleaning, another procedure like we did today on the 18th, and then continue following up until, again, 3 months from now, and then reconstructive surgery 6 months from now. Okay, so that's the update. Amy Como is with us, and I want Amy to say hi to Peter before we turn it over to Aristides for a moment, and then back to Peter. So say hi, Amy.
Hi, everyone. It's good that you made it tonight. I'm glad that you got a little bit of time with the doctor and got something set up for later.
Yeah.
I did kind of feel a little sick to my stomach when you were talking about it all, though.
It's awful. And like I said, it's just it's the tonsil was so swollen. I forgot to talk to her about the tonsil. I'll put that on the calendar now. The tonsil element, and for the next appointment I have with her. Also, yeah, I have to renew my ID card at the Department of Motor Vehicles on the 23rd. Just so people know, stupid little things like that. Some weird shit for Bluehost that I have to like renew something, and yet I've already paid for everything. But they said some information thing. I didn't even have a chance to deal with that today. I'll deal with that tomorrow. So I'll put that on my calendar now. Thank you for reminding me of these things, dear Amy. But continue. Go on with, give people a little general summary of your life shortly, because they're, a short summary because they're all worried sick about you. I mean.
Nobody's worried about me. It's fine. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's good. I did a job interview for something in Vermont, so I look forward to that. And I don't have much to add to the conversation. I did listen to the last episode. Seems like everything cheered up so much when Brooke came on and gave us the rundown about Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh god, that is awful. Talk about nauseating.
I know, it was just it really just it made me laugh so much.
Keep this at a high vibration.
Yeah.
I know. But I just wanted to say I did like that you continued on even after I got off the last time. You carried on for another bit. Good for you. I would definitely think about keeping it short tonight.
Yes.
Because it's a lot. Like that, the whole thing. Yuck.
Thank you.
Big yuck.
But other than that, you're surviving.
I did. Like I said, I did a job interview today. I ran around in the Prius, got it all muddy. I sent you a picture of my muddy Prius.
And the mold. The mold.
Oh, that's a big project to get all that out of there and redo it. It's just he's got to redo the whole, it's like a whole shed area that's going to be redone. Once it's done, it'll be good.
Great. Wonderful. When I was coming home, I had to stop by Walgreens and get a whole load of supplies that I had run out of through the Labor Day weekend, because unusually I was home throughout a holiday weekend. And then this local neighborhood leech, just like it's like going through a swamp, and a giant leech jumps on you. This local neighborhood cat sitter lady who's been around forever. I mean, I knew other pet sitters, and they just eventually over the years moved or disappeared because they couldn't afford to live in San Francisco. But she just gloms on by, of course, leeching off of the wealthy who live in the area and babysitting their cats. And she had, of course, approached me after my mother's death, thinking I owned my home, and tried to glom on to me with this, affect of care. And I had told her then I do not own my home. Apparently all of that was forgotten. And I'm just coming out of essentially another procedure. I'm carrying a whole load of crap. And this person just starts, harassing me, accosting me accosting me about, oh, how are you doing? Oh, it's like, and then, I told her again, I don't own my home. Oh my God, that explains it. How someone as elegant as you would live in such a ramshackle, rundown crypt like that. That explains it. And I'm like, God, why? Where? It's like this person just came out of another dimension for the sole purpose of harassment. It's like, was she lying in wait? Was she pre-positioned? Did somebody give her a foreknowledge that I was coming up the hill? It's like these things, again, they border on the supernatural and level of a kind of assault, just making everything more difficult as you're just trying to make it home even. So there we are. I had to vent that out before I forgot it, because it's an important point in its own way. And with that, okay, Aristides, give us the rundown before turning it over to dear Peter.
Sure. All right. So as soon as you're here, please hit the thumbs up, the upvote. It's very important because we need those in there because of the algorithm and because some people, although you can't see them, put down votes. And we need them in there right away. Please make sure you're subscribed. Subscribe button and the notification bell is on, so that you know of regular or irregular starts of programs. And if you want to do more upvotes with your YouTube account that you should be signed into, if you're doing the upvotes at all, and it's very easy to make a YouTube account if you don't have one, and then you can go into your account settings and make different sub channels under your main account, no new password or anything, and each one of them is capable of doing its own upvote. So you can upvote multiple times. Just switch back to your main channel to talk to us, because it's easy to forget that you're on your other identity that's random and blank.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bless you.
And, yep. And the donation link is in the YouTube chat. Please send whatever you can. Douglas is going through a lot of issues at the same time here, so technological and medical.
Thank you. Well, the medical's just it's mechanical in a biological sense. I'm waiting now for the security code to come from PayPal. I want everyone to know that I've just got a contribution from Brooke Hagberg in Canada of 150 United States dollars, and that helps immensely. No describing how much that helps, and it's profound that there's such beautiful people out there. I want to credit some of these other people in a moment. I'm trying to enter the security code without saying it out loud. Not that it matters. It's a one-time code. But at the same time, I want to get it right so I don't have to go through the horror of this stupidity again to get into PayPal. I want people to know I wouldn't have made it home if it had not been for Aristides. Aristides contributed $50 United States dollars to get me home, and I needed money on the PayPal so I could pay paratransit so that they could load my debit card for the cabs to take cabs around in San Francisco. And that's what got me to the bank where I could withdraw the money to make the supply run. Even though what I was lifting was awkward, I do want people to know that I'm not straining myself with lifting to any great degree. I made certain not to get anything heavier than 2 hydrogen peroxide bottles. But everything else was like big rolls of paper towels that I need because I'm a bachelor. I don't do the organic towels because, they're just, you get dirty towels you need to wash. So it's with everything I was getting. I do want people to know we got 100 we got Stephen Myers gave 60 United States dollars. Samuel Romero, 25 United States dollars. Those were the latest that I believe I credited earlier. Brooke Hagberg, 150 United States dollars. And 100 United States dollars from the incredible Dennis Marshall in my own Golden, California, who's been very supportive morally and otherwise. God bless you, Dennis Marshall. And dear Brooke Hagberg, not enough words can do justice. We had, of course, some contributions from the lovely Victoria and some other people I'll give more credit to later. For right now, we'll turn it over to Peter Moon, who takes it from this point, who's been assailed by a lot of my just toxic outpourings on magical concepts that I had picked up from Aquino and just kind of I'm trying to vomit out at this point in my life as kind of a purgative with perhaps helping myself medically that way. So, okay, dear Peter, back to you. Good, sir.
Okay, first I have a question for you, and I just didn't quite understand, I don't know if you explained it or not, why you have to wait 6 months to get the reconstructive surgery. Is that just to let it heal?
That pretty much is what they say. That would be for the average person. I will probably be healed within 3 months easily, simply because of the nanoplasmatic involvement, my vampire bloodline, all the rest of that. I mean, she noticed that I'm not your average patient at this point. It's when I described to her the extreme nature of the deformity as it was, I mean, she was shocked. She could only presume that, she said that what happened to me was extraordinarily rare, should never have happened, and the only thing she could imagine was that she had removed too much cartilage was removed at that juncture that bent my nose into a Z shape, which of course was witnessed by T. Tank Barry. T. Tank Barry can testify to the fact that he personally delivered me water. I walked out to hug him, and I was just, of course, covered in blood because the bleeding just wouldn't stop, and the bent nose was pronounced. I was truly deformed. So for that to basically heal itself within just a period of hours, so we're talking about 48 to 72 hours, is of course also unbelievable. So that's why I had to send her so many photos, give her the videos so that she knew how I looked before. And she was able to ascertain, of course, there's certainly enough of a difference where corrective surgery is needed. I would suspect, of course, probably they have to go through processes where they're applying with the insurance. But they don't seem to have any concern that the insurance will deny it. They seem to be like operating on the premise that the insurance will approve of their saying that this needs to be done. So I do look forward to that being done. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Peter. And like I said, this is going to ride on Peter for as long as Peter can last. The episode lasts. Once Peter retreats, I retreat. And so there you go. It's your show, Peter. I'm just here for the ride.
Okay, I would like to thank everybody who contributed to Douglas. He has a pretty good upbeat mood for somebody who's been through what he's been through, and it's quite devastating, this failed surgery. So you have to be also subjected to be I guess what you'd say with a compromised nose for the next 6 months, correct?
Somewhat. I think that basically probably by the time I see her on the 18th, the further correction she does, potentially removing the stitches if they're still there. The staples are supposed to dissolve on their own via the new technology. I suspect she'll everything will be healed by then. But in terms of breathing, the ability to breathe, I still cannot breathe comfortably because of the staples and stitches in the left nose. But aside from that, and there's nothing the nanobots can really do about that in my plasma. But aside from that, everything's healing so remarkably compared to your average patient, which even she observed, that I'm sure that I'll be doing fine. And then after that, it's just riding out this little dent in my nose. I'll be seeing the Blood Boys soon this month. Let me take a look at my calendar. It'll be on the 17th. Around the 17th, I'll be seeing them. And I'll probably actually start seeing them to make up for some lost time this week. This coming week, not this week. This coming week, because it's National Suicide Prevention Week, and they're probably going to do some volunteer work with that. Yeah, but that'll be. I didn't want them to see me like this. It was that bad, and but I should be presentable by that point.
Well, maybe the blood will help you heal faster as well.
Probably. Oh, most certainly, and it's always had that in the past, that impact, and so it'll be right after the Moon Festival. So everybody should know. The 17th will be the Chinese and Vietnamese, the Far East Asian Mid-Autumnal Harvest Moon Festival. My neighbor dropped off a mooncake today, poor bastard. He probably thinks I'm avoiding him. And he dropped a mooncake through my mail slot, which I went after like a dog on a shake of meat. Most other people, for those of you who don't know, white people would probably think mooncakes are like the Chinese or Asian version of fruitcake, something nobody wants to eat. But they, by that, they're dismissing the entire reason for the existence of such items, which is people needed to preserve fruit through the winter back in the day when there was no refrigeration. So that's, I can appreciate these items because I see them as what they are, survival items, which, most people look at fruitcake as just something that's weird and gross, not knowing that that's something you're going to need during the apocalypse, like it's bricks of gold. At any rate, So the day after the Lunar Moon Festival, I'm going to see Victoria Epstein. Turns out that's her real name, not a married name. So she probably left Russia, I guess, because of her Jewish heritage, and was born in St. Petersburg, the former Tsar's capital of Russia. So I found out a bit of detail about her today on a more personal level, and so that's always a good thing. And you want to make certain you don't alienate your doctor, of course, because obviously I'm dependent on her advocacy to get the corrective surgery. So yes, you want to be on good terms as possible, whatever happened. So that's bit of advice there for people. With that, we turn it back to Peter. Oh, hopefully that explains everything.
Yes, and thank you.
Yeah.
I still admire your upbeat spirit because it's not easy. What I'm going to address something very interesting tonight. I don't know where it's going to go. First thing I'm going to say is Marina is not going to be able to join us tonight, but perhaps when she does read my books or some of my books, she'll have some interesting input. I want to re-listen to part of what she said. She had said some very profound things.
Yes.
But in any case, with regards to all the stuff you've been churning up, I realized what you're really doing, at least in part of it, is it becomes a separate book on invocation and evocation. Yeah. Now, as I've already said before, it's a very touchy subject.
Yes.
Because you have to consider, you just explained it, you're sort of divesting yourself of all your
toxins.
Orientation. And so of course we have to consider who are the people that would want to read this. And it's definitely a different subject. However, as I began to contemplate the bigger subject of invocation and evocation, where it becomes highly interesting and highly relevant, is when we go back in time, and not just to the more shady or nuanced magicians of the last 2 millennium. When we go back into the times of Solomon or Moses, there are lost books of Moses, 6 or 7, whatever, depending on what you, and these books will say, oh, you can, get anything you want with this book of Moses. It's, doing spells and stuff like this. But you have to consider who were these people, and what were they doing, and who they were communicating with. Here it gets very interesting, because you have in the annals of occultism, and perhaps I should call it the annals of occultism, is you have a legacy of prophets, oracles, or whatever, speaking through God or gods. And there was a communication process that took place. It's very different than today. Whereas today, and of course, so much of what goes down in the name of spirituality is a lot of mumbo jumbo, and people just,
just new age platitudes, yeah.
Yeah, and people take it very seriously.
Sadly.
And way too seriously.
Yes.
But when we take take it back to the ancients. And the two characters that stand out in my mind are Moses and Solomon. I'll start with Solomon because Solomon was more recent. And Solomon is a very nuanced character. In fact, he's considered qualified to build the temple as opposed to his father David, because David has too much blood on his hands. He's a massive killer in order to preserve the nation of Israel. Surprise, surprise. And it's so Solomon had this incredible ring that he claimed it was given to him, or history claims it was given to him by the archangel Raphael. Is it angel? Yeah, Raphael.
Yes.
And he could wield the power of controlling the jinn. And he could build this incredible temple. And a big feature of the temple was the Teklet blue that was stored beside it. And what you had here was a communion with divinity, for lack of a better word. Communion with the divinity. I caught a bit of a video today with Jordan Peterson, blessed be thy name. And the reason I turned it on was because it said, what happens when you get to the top of Jacob's ladder? That was interesting to me. Jacob's ladder. So he said, you get to the top of Jacob's ladder. He mentioned something very interesting, that, of course, one is approaching God, the ineffable name, but he says God recedes, because God is unknowable and God is, infinite. So as soon as you get to the top of the pole, this divine source recedes from you. It's not like you're gonna, and to the degree that you can, put on a wig and start commanding people, then, you're not God. Because that's so much of what, people will still to this day rebel to the idea of this man in a white beard who is, supposedly God. It's, and of course this humanizes God, which makes God less than what God is. And when you've humanized him, you've sort of struck out. You have struck out. So this whole idea of the temple that Solomon built is all based upon, the Holy of Holies, which existed before the temple, because they had the tabernacle in the wilderness, they had the Ark of the Covenant, and whereas between the two cherubs or cherubs would manifest the Shekinah glory, the divine, Shekinah being the divine essence, and the glory being the flame, which would manifest. And of course, very interesting, because the word glory is part of, the understanding of the name Cleopatra. Cleo, Patra. Patra is the father. Cleo is glory. The father's glory. So Cleopatra in a name in an essence could be equated to the glory of the Shekinah, if you interpret it that way. But Cleo is also where we get the word clitoris. It's phonetically and etymologically related. So here you have the Shekinah glory, and this is the whole essence of the creation of life. And the creation of life would, of course, be the most holy thing you could have. So basically all you have is this temple surrounding the Holy of Holies. Inside the Holy of Holies, you have this tribute to the glory of creation. And creation is not something you can put in a box and isolate, or put into a form of a Godhead. It's as if, let me close the window so you're not subjected to the water sounds.
Yes. He has a sprinkler system on an automatic timer.
So the glory of creation is kind of like, it's can you imagine if you had a baseball team and the manager kept changing from batter to batter? Oh, and the manager keeps changing. He's like rotating. Mm-hmm. Now, in actual fact, in any series of events like a ball game's very easy to use as a metaphor, as opposed to if the same thing happens in a company with all the decisions that get made. But so you make decisions based upon the events that happen on the field and based upon the resources you have in the dugout. So it's like, but then you can, and really the essence of the manager or the god of the team, so to speak, is adjusting to the circumstance and literally managing the team, saying, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, to the degree that it's a person or a personality. This personality can have their own peculiarities. They can be good or they can be poor, but nevertheless, there's always a right thing to do and a wrong thing to do, with many nuanced shades in between. But so what I'm saying here is that God is not, the position of God is not, as they say, it gets personified. It even gets personified in the day of judgment, where Jesus judges everybody. He said, you go to hell. They make Jesus like Mengele, like Joseph Mengele.
That's awful.
Because Joseph Mengele would sit there and say, you go here, you go there, you go
yes.
here, you go there.
Yeah. He'd pick people out of a lineup.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like, okay, you go to hell, you don't go to hell. And that, it sort of reduces the idea of judgment to the lowest common denominator, whereas you kind of end up, in circumstances as a result of your actions, which is just old-fashioned karma, the concept of karma. It doesn't, sometimes it happens, with a judge in a robe pounding his gavel, 10 years or worse. And sometimes it just happens where you're relegated to living in a tent in a park or something. As somebody who I don't know, but I heard of, he's living in a tent. He finally got a job, but he regretted that when he did have a job and was living, that he didn't save his money for a rainy day. He was spending too irresponsibly, by his own words. So in other words, your actions put you in a circumstance where you're judged, and he's working very hard to correct the errors of his ways. You know, he's still a young man. He's maturing and whatnot. So we all have, you know, obviously justice is something that occurs in life. Sometimes you don't see it because you see these, you know, politicians and these evil titans of, you know, industry or whatever, and they don't seem to be dealt with justly because they're kind of dictators of the moment. So this whole idea, so I'm talking about invocation here and evocation. I don't know that Solomon really had to, I mean, there's books of Solomon and stuff like this, stuff that's attributed to him. But but you kind of get the idea. His magic ring is what mustered the jinn. Like, he didn't really have to pay too much attention to Grimoire, I don't think. Maybe he did, but he had a lot of gnosis and a lot of command. He also had free will, and he also got involved with a lot of gods of his pagan wives, which is said to have upset Jehovah, which is kind of funny. It reminds me of L. Ron Hubbard being displeased with people who would go off and do their own versions of Scientology. Which he called squirreling or squirrels.
Jesus.
So, because they weren't doing, well, there's two reasons you can say. They weren't doing the right thing, or they weren't doing the right thing by him. So he demanded tribute, you know. And it's a mixed bag. It's really a mixed bag. But in the case of Solomon, he did what the Pope did. He opened the doors to other belief systems. He had pagan wives. He built idols to them. And the Catholic Church is renowned for going in and Catholicizing pagan religions. They're criticized for it. Or they will paganize Catholicism to make it fit so it will appeal to the people. It gives them a control or an influence, and which will lead to a control. So the Catholic Church has often been criticized for that, where they're not, you know, Catholics are not Bible thumpers. So
one of their more redeeming features, by the way.
yeah, they don't proselytize. The one thing I always generally perceive about Catholics, they have a reference frame of obedience to God. And they may sin, and they may know they sin, and they may not go to church, but they believe in the hierarchical order of God. And they take it serious. And I think that would vanish if they did an existential exploration of theology and really studied it independently, did a course in comparative religions. I mean, because what I notice is most people don't really, I mean, this audience might be an exception. People don't really go and study religion. They don't examine that area. Just like they don't examine areas of health and whatnot. And they just do what the doctor says, because the doctor went to school and the doctor knows more than they do. But so I'm talking about evocation and invocation. So you look at Solomon was like, had all this control. Yet his legacy is very dubious. Very dubious. And of course, the whole temple fell apart, was destroyed. And then what they rebuilt was a mockery. And of course, it was rebuilt by Herod. So that would explain why it was a mockery.
Thank you. Yes.
They had no Ark of the Covenant. The Holy of Holies was watered down. And that always disturbed me, that in the New Testament, and it didn't disturb me. Well, I don't know. It made me question, why is Jesus throwing money changers out of the temple? That's where they belong. It was like a bank. They're supposed to do sacrifices in the temple, but it's like, it's not even the temple. It's, it's just, it's kind of like the United States government building a tribute to, like, what do you call it, the Mount Rushmore on sacred Native American land.
Yes.
It's, it's not regarded by the natives with any admiration or respect. Quite the opposite. But so I really don't know. But then if we track it back to Moses had a communication with God, and his older brother Aaron was the craftsman. He had a lot of inside know-how, which would have gone back, to the antecedents of who he was, going back to Abraham. So we have all of these characters and many, many prophets who are basically filling gaps, because the average working stiff in those days was interested in sustenance, subsistence.
Yes.
You didn't have time to be going to libraries. And traditionally there were only learned men who studied scrolls and whatnot. And that was their role. It wasn't for the common man. So they served as a priesthood, a special inside knowledge. And this applies to the Persian tradition, where they had the vizier, which gets transliterated into wizard.
Mm-hmm.
The vizier, it's like the visor, the advisor, the visor, because he could see.
Yes.
And study the stars and predict the future. So it would be interesting to approach this as far as invoking and evoking, and what were these people invoking? What were they evoking? And what is the relevance of it today? It's like you have this voice that it's very much like the Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
In the city of Oz, where they've got the great and powerful Oz,
Mm-hmm.
and he's hiding, and he's just a big fake who was able to fool the public, and he has superior knowledge to the degree that he's in on the joke, or they're not in on the joke. But he's completely revered, and people are following. What do we have as a god now? We have the media, and I will tell you, people believe in Donald Trump or the Democratic establishment very much like they would believe in a religion. Either one. I mean, Trump has more religious charisma because he's positioned with Christianity. But the same with the Democrats. They are like, they believe in this agenda, whatever it is, and it's all a belief. So I don't know if you have any response to what I'm saying about evoking and invoking in terms of the ancient history of what these characters were doing. I'm sure if Aquino was here, he could probably give us some insight.
No doubt. Yes. I just appreciate you diving into this territory, and as I said, I'm just along for the ride.
It's okay. It's okay. And I don't expect too much of you, and we're not ready to do it yet anyway. Because, everybody wants to ask for things. They want, but Joe Matheny, who's really experienced in occult magic and has done elaborate Enochian rituals, he said, you can look at what you want, and let's just say $1 million, and you say it's much easier to just go get the $1 million, go do what you have to do, rather than to do all this occult mumbo jumbo. And Douglas gave an example, which is in the book of Lon Milo Duquette, who asked for $1 million, and he invokes this, is it jackass-headed God?
Yeah. Pretty much, like the body as well. It was basically a jackass that could talk, but had some human attributes. Yes,
and talked him into a car.
Pretty much, yeah. That was it.
He got the car.
Yeah.
His friend, after he did the ritual, a friend of his drove up in a car.
Yeah, that's talk true.
And hadn't seen him in a long time. Figured out where he was. Gave him the car. He was down and out. He didn't have a job. And got him a car. The car helped him get a job. And it got him out of his situation. It was far from $1 million.
Yeah.
So, in other words,
they'll dicker with you.
He didn't get his $1 million.
Yeah, that's right.
If you look back on it, like there's a book I really enjoyed. I read it when I was still a teenager, still in Scientology, just because somebody had it. It was called The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut. And the book is a satire on science fiction. It's a satire. But it's one of the best science fiction books I've ever read. And it's about a character named Malachi Constant, who travels in time. I forget. I forget how the time is invented, but he goes through something called the chronosynclastic and fundibulum. And the chrono is of time, synclastic is synthetic, and infundibulum is another word for a funnel. So he's basically saying, the chronosynclastic and fundibulum is a synthetic time vortex. But what he does is he goes back and sees what stocks are going to go up or goes forward. So he becomes the richest man in the world because of knowing the stock market. And of course, if you have been lucky, you could have a lot of money. If you had the money, invested it in various stocks, you could be very lucky. And luck is a big factor in life. fortune, good fortune. And some people are incredibly lucky. So that book, of course, this character ends up becoming a victim. And he ends up on an implant station on Mars, where he's evocative of the character I later met as Duncan from the Montauk Project. He's kind of holed out. But nevertheless, it's people will have desires. I mean, that's, if you have all this money in the world, then you can do things. And there have been a long time, I've said, millionaires have been trying all sorts of inventive things, and now we have billionaires. And these billionaires of today are far more creative and impressive than the millionaires of 20, 30, 40 years ago in terms of the technology. I spoke to my friend in Hollywood today, and he told me that the technology is just moving so fast that there was a state-of-the-art technology as far as filmmaking goes, and it became outdated in a week. It was far surpassed. This is how fast technology is moving.
Wow.
And I plan to go out there around Halloween.
Okay. Oh.
And I'm going to go to Southern California, and I'm lining up a meeting with him. But the interesting thing, and I'm not going to go into details because he told me some things, but in so many, so I'm dealing with this book with Douglas. It's so heavily plastered with occult, and as I reread the chapters on the Emerald Lama and the Black Lotus Brotherhood, the anti-Buddhas, it's very sobering. I think this is some of the neatest stuff in the book. Not to undervalue the your own personal experiences, but it's just so.
Thank you. I understand.
It's so enlightening.
Yes.
And then the I mean, this is the core issue of humanity and why humanity has suffered. So, but to get back to what I was saying, one basically wants to summon wealth, and with wealth, you're going to try and create all of these. I guess ultimately, if you had ultimate wealth, you'd try and create a pathway to God, like the Tower of Babylon or something like this. You're trying to get, and people are trying to get so, and people are getting more intelligent. The expert systems that they call AI are getting so much more intelligent and efficient, and they keep pumping ideas and keep pumping more solutions, making more available to more people. So, but what I was going to say is, there are different avenues of my life, and as never before, where I'm dealing with demonic energy. And of course, just the interface I have with you is just one channel of, dealing with Aquino and all that stuff. But it's not the only avenue of my life. And different people, places, and things. It's not just one. It's not just two. And the whole Hollywood scenario we were talking about, there was one scenario, not related to Hollywood, where I think I have successfully out-wrestled the demon, if that's the right word for it. In other words, banished it.
Yes.
And it just sort of happened automatically. these are not things I'm looking for, but you have to deal with certain things. And then you see people who've been in your life, and you look back and you say, oh, wow, there's that demon influence there, there's that, boom, 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 boom. And these are things I wouldn't write about, because first off, they might have minimal interest. Nevertheless, I was very inspired by Amy Cuomo and what she said about being able to overcome what she did and to find true love. And I think that's the real key, why it improved her life so much. She found love. And one thing people can do, and it's very good to watch I think it's Lotus Born. It's a video on dakinis. And there's a few parts where it's a little corny for me, but it's profound. In other words, you can call on dakinis, also known as sky dancers. They are female spirits.
Is this some kind of drama or something on YouTube?
No, it's sort of a documentary on, it's sort of a tantric documentary. There's a few videos, Lotus Born, and it basically, and I don't know if it's in this video or whatever, what I watched, if you have problems with money, if you have problems with love, if you have problems with your partner, you can call on dakini, whatever it is. If you have, I suppose, you have problems with your batting stance in baseball, you call on dakinis and they'll come and they will assist you. If you make an earnest supplication, and they will buoy your spirits and bring you, joy. So, and that's really, that's a more palatable answer to me than somebody going out drawing circles, not necessarily blood circles, but the blood circles are certainly going to get a bigger dramatic response.
Yes.
You just call in the dakinis and the friendly energy will manifest and is more warm and fuzzy. It's a different orientation, and certainly, but as I say, the things in the book are so profound, and then we get to this. I have made a decision on what to call the book. If you have a better title, you can suggest it to me, but I don't think you'll disagree. And I went over this with Maria D'Andrea because I just wanted to ask her a question. And I gave her some, let me see if I can state it exactly. Okay, here. We go to, here we go. This is what I want to call the book. Why is this so hard? Just bear with me a second.
No worries. They're probably assaulting your system like they've assaulted mine.
No, it's not that at all. It's not that at all. Oh my goodness. There's nothing wrong. It's just I wasn't able to. Okay, here we go. Well, Douglas, you know this too well. This is the title I want to call the book, and I never thought of calling it this title. The Vox Arca. Vox, Vocus, Arca, Arca, the voice of the Ancient of Ancients. The working title is the Vox Arca, because that's what this book is about. I tried to make fancier titles, more exotic titles, but I think, and this is what Maria, I guess, approved of. What do you think?
I'm not quite sure I want to be identified with the Vox Arca too exclusively, in the sense that it becomes kind of like, even though it is essentially a part of me, it's almost like
This is a book. It's not you.
Understood. Understood. Yeah. It's yeah. I'll think about it. Think about it. It's yeah. I mean, it's okay. Yeah. I'm yeah.
I can't think of a better title. All the other titles I had, they were. I was trying to make a transmutative title.
Ah. Okay.
And it just doesn't work. It's alluding to, kind of trying to reverse the Vox Arca, but this is what the book is about. So you call it what it's about. It's very easy to pronounce. It's a very workable title. The Vox Arca, of course, it's got I didn't divorce it from it's a real name. This is what it is. It's about the voice of the ancients.
Yes.
But so be it. So I was saying that I've been dealing with different. Oh boy, Maria laid a lot of information on me. I forgot about that one.
Okay. Share it with us.
Oh
no.
I'm not going to go into it publicly.
Okay.
It's too sensitive.
I see.
Dealing with, there's just energies out there, and it was something that was presented to her, and by what's the code, osmosis, I'm made aware of it. And then I realized maybe it's a temptation. Maybe it's a temptation. Let's just say, let's just, I'll make up something like somebody gave her a magic genie bottle that hadn't been opened, and there's supposed to be a gin inside, or if you open it you get 3 wishes or something like that. That's not exactly what it is, but I'm just saying it's like, 3 wishes, what do I want for 3 wishes? Well, I could say, and I told her, I said, look, she wasn't offering this to me. But I'm saying, what do I want in life? I'd be reluctant to ask for anything. I'm generally not displeased with life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
But I'd say, well, yeah, I'd like Douglas's book to sell more. I'd like the new book to catch on. I'd like this to get traction. You know what? It's going to get traction anyway. Things will just move along as they're supposed to move along. It's not that you can't get a boost. It's not that you can't get a boost. But I said, why do I need to, throw coal on the fire?
Mm-hmm.
Or rather than coal, you throw coal on the fire, that's natural. This is like, putting an atom bomb, sort of like this is what the Edomites do.
Yes.
They'll put a whole atom bomb behind their
yes.
Behind their ritual.
Yes.
And it's gonna create an effect. So, and one of the hardest things to convince. And I run across people who are struggling with something, unlike Amy, who is overcoming her challenges and is overcome to a significant degree. I mean, you never overcome everything, but she's in a harmonious, copacetic place. So, but the hardest thing to get across to somebody is step one, which is stop thinking the way you're thinking and stop being a victim or an effect of what you're thinking. Change your thinking and reverse the thinking pattern, and don't keep looking at it the same way. It's actually getting somebody to change their mind and change it on the most basic level. Like, things are always bad. Things are always bad. Things are always bad. Rather than to say, stop thinking things are always bad. They're not always bad. You're able to go out and buy lunch today. If you didn't have lunch, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be bad. It would be bad.
Or worse.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, so you have to appreciate the fact that you were able to eat. You had money to eat. You did what you ate. You did something good. And so, in other words, to focus on the good instead of running the negative program. Now, even if you're having too many negative things happen in a day, it's like, okay, let's create a positive. You know, you're trying to apply for a job. Nobody is interested in you. Finally, you get, you know, a callback. Somebody says they might be interested. You know, it's just like one thing. But it's very hard to change people's minds. And that in itself is an act of magic, because it reverses the, the dwindling spiral. Attitude is so important. But, so anyway, we can go if we choose. I do want to do the vampire book next.
Okay, great.
Because I think
Yes.
it's apropos. I think it fits.
Thank you.
And then the Black Sun book,
Yes.
or the sequel to the Black Sun, which would be, Unterland and all that, and that might, Marina might have some things to share with us about that, or vice versa. It might be interesting to dialogue with her while you're talking about that, to have her input and reverberation on, because it's like, she's a very interesting soul. Because, and of course she's in the subject matter, and that's why she was referred to me, because of my book, The Black Sun. And she was like a sort of a living legacy of the energy that I was writing about in that book. And of course, my friend Phil Gruber, who was a big fan of that book. And, so he had me on with her. But, so she was, interested in the book. I sent her the Spandau Mystery. So it would be interesting to see if these things trigger her. And then, of course, that can all be buoyed or further enhanced by what you have to say about Unterland, or even the stuff you've already talked about with what's his name, Shaka Cassandra.
No, Chandra Sekhar. Yes, Subramanian Chandra Sekhar. Yes.
Chandra Sekhar, what a name. hard to remember.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, it's why nobody knows him. It's you
Yeah.
can't look these
the
guys
Indian
up.
scientist who discovered black holes, and the Germans used it for their computers, their early computers, which led to the conclusion that there was a black hole in the center of the galaxy, a black hole in the center of the universe, which is where we get the term black sun.
Yes.
So that whole hidden legacy. I was also very interested in this. Aristides put the feed of this woman, I forget her name, who wrote the book about, what is it? She talked about Hitler.
Oh, Savitri Devi.
Yeah. I've heard of her before, but I never had time to look her up. Like the perspectives that other people have that we just don't hear, because we have a very narrow view on what happened with the Third Reich, where if you don't think how you're supposed to think, you're wrong. But I did say in my email that I would touch on politics a bit. I don't know if you've had time to follow politics at all.
Kinda, but only vaguely. Something happened recently that normally would have gotten more attention from me, but you just dive into it and I'll see what comes to my mind.
The Germans, how do I say it? The hostages, 6 hostages were killed. And of course, the Palestinians, was Hamas, denied that they killed them. But you don't see any coverage of their version.
No, of course not.
So because they don't talk about their claims, they just say that it's absurd that they would deny this. So do you know anything about their claims, or anything that they didn't kill the hostages?
No, not at all, though. I'm no. Yeah.
Yeah, in other words, I'm looking right now.
Sure.
Hamas threats to kill hostages could weaken group's hands in negotiations. But it's more protests, because the Israelis have been protesting Netanyahu. And
well, the blood of the hostages is on his hands.
Well, yeah, he's even asked for forgiveness.
Piece of shit. He's just exploiting it all to, of course, have some bodies to put on display so that he can, make up for some of the, get back into the victim role, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, they don't cover the things I want to know. So it's like I don't pay any attention to the news.
Yeah.
It's like hostage families press Biden administration to make a deal with Hamas that doesn't include Israel. The 6 hostages appeared to have been shot dead at close range 2 or 3 days before their bodies were found, according to Israel's health ministry. They were held hostage for nearly 11. Okay, now that's a big, you know, 2 or 3 days. You don't know who shot them.
Yes. Oh yeah, of course. My bias would be that the Israelis shot them just to produce the needed bodies, so they have something to bitch about.
Yeah. Autopsy finds all 6 had gunshot wounds. That doesn't say they could have been dead. They could have died for some other reason, and then they shoot them. So you look at them and say, well, they had a gunshot wound. They didn't say that they died. That statement did not say that they died from it.
Excellent point.
So it says the Israeli Defense Forces announced that they were murdered by terrorists abducted from the festival. They were found with multiple gunshot wounds, citing an examination. The ministry said that the hostages were murdered between 48 and 72 hours before their autopsy, meaning between Thursday and Friday. They were brutally murdered. Now, the Rear Admiral, Daniel Hagari, said the 6 were brutally murdered by Hamas shortly before troops arrived, possibly only a day or two before they were found. They were brutally murdered by terrorists a short while before we reached them. They were abducted alive on the morning, blah, 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 blah. This is very scant of information. Their bodies were found during the fighting in Rafah in a tunnel about a kilometer away from the tunnel which we rescued Farhan al-Qadi a few days ago. They said they did not have the exact location of the hostages, but had indications of a general area where the 6 could be held, and was therefore operating carefully in the area. Since Farhan was found, troops were given an emphasis on operating carefully, even more than usual, because of the understanding that additional hostages may be in the area. Troops began to search tunnels. The IDF said there were no clashes with Hamas terrorists inside the tunnel, and the guards who likely murdered the 6 had fled the area. However, troops battled terror operatives above ground in the area where the tunnel was located. Well, it's like, it doesn't make any sense for the Hamas to have killed these hostages. Like, what did they get from it?
They're no longer available as a political bartering tool, so that would be self-defeating. Yes.
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. It's just that it's such a talking point. And here's President Isaac Herzog. Remember him, Herzog?
Vaguely, yes.
Herzog is the relative of the guy who did the paper on the Helazon.
Oh, that's right, yes. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, he says that the heart of an entire nation is crushed into pieces.
He would know. Yeah, he helped bring it to that point, or his relation did. Yes.
Yeah, in the name of the entire state of Israel, I hold their families in my heart and ask forgiveness for not being able to return your loved ones home safely.
That's Netanyahu. Bibi says that.
No, that was Herzog, but Netanyahu said the same thing.
Yeah. But why is this other guy saying it?
He says, he just says that, we're sorry, we apologize, we couldn't get him home.
Oh, okay.
But
he's still involved with the government. That's right. Yes, I get it.
Yeah, I would like to hear what Hamas has to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when you have an environment like that, you can say anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust. I don't trust these people.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good place to start from. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course we have October 7th coming up. It's a month away.
Yes. Yeah.
And to me, if I was going to do a terrorist act,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it on the 7th.
Mm-hmm. No. Too many people on alert. Yes.
I do it on the 4th or the 5th.
Yeah.
Or maybe the 9th or the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it on the 7th. So if it does occur on the 7th, I would have to wonder if it's being staged.
Of course. you'd have to wonder about it being staged in any event, but yeah, particularly on the 7th, I can understand.
And perhaps one of the most entertaining news bites about the current presidential election is Kamala Harris adopting a deep Southern voice when she's in Georgia. Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but I'll believe it.
She's being criticized for it, and she'll give the same talk in Pennsylvania or somewhere, and it just, she sounds totally different. She's talking like she's from Georgia or something.
Oh my goodness! Oh.
And it was pretty
comedic,
pretty disingenuous. Yeah.
Oh.
It was, entertaining.
That's what politics is, entertainment.
Yeah, so this is quite a mad scene.
Mm-hmm.
Although they'll have a debate, I think, on the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And Kamala Harris doesn't talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
She did a taped interview. Everything's very structured.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has said she's not intelligent. And the news people were saying, well, that's offensive. He's going to offend voters by saying she's not intelligent. I find it refreshing to have somebody being accused of non-intelligent, especially when they manifest non-intelligence. Because she doesn't appear to be intelligent at all. I mean, so anyway. But whatever. Things seem kind of calm right now.
Okay.
It might be the calm before the storm.
Right.
Well, they seem calm. I know there's been a lot of, what do you call it, missiles going off or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a chance to review the video I sent you? The link to the video I sent you from China?
With the robot dolls?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the robot dolls. And Douglas had sent me a video where there were actual women.
Yes.
There were actual women who were dressed up like robots to emulate Biofax Simulacra. But they were actually human beings.
Yes.
To show that the Chinese had advanced robots. But they really don't have advanced robots.
Right. Right.
It's kind of like, I don't know, it's just stupid. I suppose it's entertaining. I don't know what they were trying to prove.
I was going to ask, what do you think is the motivation behind this?
I don't know. We just had a Chinese woman who was arrested because she worked for Governor Hochul of New York. And I think she worked for Cuomo too, and she's been arrested and accused of being a spy for the Chinese government. And her husband too. So, they were working right there as the governor's right-hand man. So, this is the latest scandal in New York gubernatorial politics. But of course, in Long Island, in the district where I live, they had George Santos, who was just a complete clown show. Who ingratiated himself into the political world and seemed to fool everybody, which tells you that the world goes on. Politicians either get in the way or they do what they're supposed to do. They're not, so I'm saying it's just, you could have a dunderhead as a congressman. You could have a dunderhead as a president. And life will still go on. And with, we had an apex dunderhead with George W. Bush.
Yes.
And even to the point where he was making fun of looking for the weapons of mass destruction by looking under the conference table.
Yes.
Where are all the weapons of mass? Because they couldn't find any.
Of course not.
And of course, this was very offensive to the people who had lost, their son in that war, that unnecessary war.
Yes.
So, you can look back and say, it's just foolish. It's foolish to go to war, but they do it. So be it. Old story.
Yes.
So I would like to encourage people to donate to Douglas. If you can.
Early night tonight. That's fine by
I
me.
don't really have much to say other than that. I just sort of strung along.
And that's fine. I mean, yeah, definitely I need to sleep, and I certainly don't want to fall asleep while we're doing the show because that might alarm people. So, yeah, probably.
The thing I wanted to get across was your find out about your situation, and then also get across to you what I realized, that this is a whole nother subject that could be tackled. And whether it should be tackled, it'll come up contextually. Yes. But are there any questions in the chat room?
Let's take a look. Yeah, but both of us should look at the same time. Let's
I haven't even opened the. I'll have to put myself on mute so it doesn't come on.
Oh, okay. The video. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. We don't want to be hit with a copyright strike. Okay, let's take a look at. Oh yes. There we are. You can take a look at what Resurgam75 said.
Okay.
Numbers are good, by the way.
Okay, I got a psychic attack in the night, but I've been gradually learning to fight so they didn't get the feed they wanted. Got a coffee and tune into you guys, and you're talking about this. Just wow. Okay. Psychic attack in the night.
You'll notice what he says after that. Do you see the statement after that? There's a sentence after that.
I'll check out Lotus Born for sure. Thank you. Okay, yes. Psychic attack. First thing I'd say is to breathe deep through your nose, exhale through your mouth, control your breath, equals control your life.
Yes.
And I'm going to say something. I've got a dear friend, and she broke her arm up above her elbow. I get the whole picture, but she said she was crawling on the floor like one of those old people, and she's not that old, but she, in those commercials saying, "Help!"
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, what did they call them again? That's Lifeline commercials they used to have.
But she got herself to a phone, and
Jesus.
And so anyway, she had let me know she was in the hospital, and actually I was able to tell a common friend of ours to let her know so he can help her out and whatnot. But she I was talking to her, and she says, I'm not in pain or whatnot. I'm okay. She was on painkiller.
Lucky her.
And all of a sudden she goes, oh. And she asked something like, oh, give me some pain medication. And I just went into her and I started telling her to breathe, to put her arm in purple light, and to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, just putting energy. And she said it helped her incredibly. Really helped her.
Wow.
The pain went away. So
I'd rather do the drugs myself, but thank you for that.
Well, she's doing the drugs. She is doing the drugs.
Cool.
But,
cool. The drugs have their limits. Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So psychic attack. Yeah. Calling in the dakinis will help. Putting yourself in purple light and breathing. And putting yourself in good energy. I would also often, psychic attacks are often associated with events, more accurately, people involved in your life. So I would also make a list of all the people you're connected to
That's a good idea.
in work, in play, and in romance or whatever it is, because a surprising amount of people have no intent or bad intent.
Yes, true.
And few and far between are the people who will have good intent.
So true. Oh.
They really want to boost you, and they're just want to give you positive vibes. Sometimes these people are too few in number. So yeah, I remember having my psychic attack in Romania. I was sick, but at the same time I was, getting bad news from Hollywood that they were sabotaging this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So it all goes. So T-Tank Barry brought up that, the Cho might be influencing him, but the Cho are controllable. You can keep them out of your life. The tragedy of the Cho is, if you get curious enough to want to go in and document them, it's kind of like, letting what can I say, a tiger into your house.
Yes.
Tigers are beautiful, but you don't want one in your house. Cho are not beautiful. What do you want them in there for?
Yes.
Because you get curious, you want to prove. And proving things is a waste of time. The only thing you need to prove something for is yourself.
True. Yes.
And I can think like proving time travel, not just academically, like I have on the website, but to actually prove it, it's kind of irrelevant, because if you access it, it all becomes, what are you going to do with it? And what is the existential psychology that accompanies it?
Yes.
What control do you have over? What's the purpose of you doing it? Why? And that's a big existential issue that I have. To have a friend with a time reactor, and it's like, what is the purpose? What is the relevance? Is it is it just something like a one of those things, You grow old and you die and say, well, yeah, I saw 6 UFOs and these were the experiences and they were interesting, they're out of the ordinary, but I went in and went on and lived a long life. Well, this isn't exactly UFOs, but and then what is the relevancy of time travel? I have this set idea that I'm supposed to live a life that lasts X amount of years, right? That it. My current target is 108.
Cool.
The reason for that is that's the number of, I think, syllables or in a mantra. In a mantra, 108, sacred number. So why not, do 108 years and then one can reevaluate. One can reevaluate. Okay, But that's about all I have, Douglas.
That's fine. That's fine. Believe me.
I would welcome some sleep.
Yeah.
And
We did well.
yeah, I'm gonna finish up the proofing of the book
Right.
in a few days,
Excellent.
and then still pricing it out and whatnot. I got a lot going on besides that. I'm very busy. So anyway, we hope that you're still going to be with us on next Sunday night.
Of course. Yes, and for in much better shape, I would presume. This is the worst I've been in a while.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or medication right now?
I wish I were. Unfortunately, not. Gelaflorine.
You're in an awfully good mood for somebody who's suffering as much as you are.
Well, I appreciate that profoundly. That's the natural high one gets from just, shall we say, dealing with the endless sea of horrors that I've dealt with all my life. I mean, comparatively speaking, this is mild. Good Lord, but look at what I'm normally dealing with. Peter gets a hint of it in the crap that I've been writing.
Well, let's say when you have, when you're not stressed out, you have a good sense of humor and an upbeat attitude. Did you exhibit this when you worked at the Presidio? When you were younger, of course, and maybe. Did you exhibit this sort of attitude?
A glib. I was told that I was glib, for what that's worth.
You talked a lot.
I guess, sort of. Other people would say I was silent. It depends on the situation. There's times when I knew to keep my mouth shut. I guess I've always had a fairly upbeat attitude to survive everything that I've had throughout my life. Certainly tried to emulate my mother in that. Really, I'm not an upbeat person. I'm pretty, certainly through childhood, I was much more morose, but after a while, you learn to stop caring. That helps immensely.
I think socially, you have a sense of humor when you're talking to people.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
If you're not commiserating about your, whatever negative situation you're experiencing. But so anyway, I just, so be it. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's say goodnight to everybody, and then we'll get back together on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And we'll be in for the longer haul, just for our listeners to know. Tonight was an exception. We were here to tell people why we're not here the rest of the night. But we got great numbers while we were here, and of course I appreciate that profoundly. Really hate to leave people when we get numbers like this, but I've been learning to because, we certainly want to take care of ourselves. And Aaron Tice says, sleep well, sir. Bless you, Aaron. Wonderful human being who contributed 100 United States dollars as well. Now that I remember. Sorry it took that notification to remind me. Gelaflorin said that in the chat, nice combination, you two. Speaking of you and I, Peter. So thanks to Jella. Yeah. Okay. And blessed be to everyone, all who support us. I'm going to go to sleep now. And when I wake up, I'll get back to just kind of slowly decompressing from a lot that's been happening. And in the interim, we all love you who support us. And for the rest of you out there, join us again Sunday night. And Vicky Johnson says, be well. Love you, Vicky Johnson. Mwah. Kisses to you. And with that, we're going to end stream. And, okay, let's do that. And, of course, Amy, if you're still with us. Are you there, Amy? Let's see if she is. That'd be almost miraculous. Oh my
I'm ready
God.
for bed. The battery was dying, so I had to come out to the car and plug it in, but I'm ready.
Okay,
Ready to go
well,
right to
Amy,
bed.
before we go to bed, you do know that the emails that I send you, that you said something about a last paragraph, but the last paragraph's not the last paragraph at all. There's probably dozens more pages after that if you press the extend text button. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, there you go.
All right, I'll look closer. I'll look closer. I had a busy day. But
Understood.
I have like 5 different ones that I haven't read yet. So it seems
Understood.
like whenever I read it,
Yeah.
if I look ahead, you've already revised whatever it is I've read. So
Understood. Understood. Just the
So
nature
I'll-
of the beast. Nature of the beast. It's organic. It
yeah,
grows like a
I will.
cancer. It grows like a cancer. It really. It's a good analogy for that magical toxin stuff. Okay.
Magic.
Go on.
All
Honey.
right, all right. Have a
Yeah.
good night, and thank you everybody for tuning in. See you later.
Yes, we love you, Vic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night,
Amy.
everybody.
Okay.
Hi, Peter.
Yes, and we all love it. Ari as well, who got me home. And okay, let's get a something in there for the ladies inside of the chat. And okay then, ending stream. Bye for now, everybody, and join us on Sunday. How do we press the right buttons? There we are. Okay, end. And